You know what? I gotta admit something, guys. I gotta admit something. When Jack and Hanayama started fighting, you know, I was a little scared for Hanayama. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, the entire start of Baki Rahen has been gassing up Jack, showing how much improvements Jack's made, showing how effective his bite is in a lot of different circumstances, showing how effective his martial arts have gotten and become, showing how he changed his mind from being a fighter to being a warrior. But we're seeing how that is a little bit flawed now, because we're seeing his over-reliance on his biting against Hanayama. Even though he said he doesn't even have to bite Hanayama to win, we see how that's completely out the window. But it doesn't make Jack a hypocrite, because we see in the very, very beginning that Jack said he would do anything to win. He doesn't care if he has to embarrass himself. He doesn't care if, you know, it's degrading or whatever. If it gets him a win, if it gets him a W, it's as simple as that. But this brings me to what the video is on today, which is Oliva versus Hanayama. Who would win? Now, this is a little trickier than the surface may be. A lot of people may say Oliva because he's stronger and, you know, he's more aggressive than Hanayama. Or, you know, he has more feats and, you know, he got a lot stronger after beating Sukune. But I think we got to look a little bit deeper. So Jack beat Sukune, and Jack is seemingly so far inferior to Hanayama, but then Oliva beat Sukune. So then we have to ask, okay, well then how did Sukune lose to Jack? Jack nerfed Sukune at the very, very beginning by biting off his pinky. Okay, the pinky was the most important thing for a sumo wrestler. So the fact that Jack knew that he had to nerf Sukune before getting the win, and then at the end when he did beat Sukune through, you know, having him lose through blood loss, he says in his head that if I never, you know, ate your pinky and I never, you know, bled you out slowly, I would have lost with his final attack when he slammed Jack, you know, face first into the ground. That's very key information. So then we can think, okay, so if Jack never put Sukune in a disadvantageous position, disadvantageous position, then what would have happened in that fight? Well, I think we know what would happen in that fight. I think we would have known that Sukune would actually beat Jack. Now, the difficulty, we could debate that all day long. But the whole point here is that there isn't a clear Jack over Sukune every single fight. They fight 10 times type of thing, right? So there's a little bit of nuance there. But what I want to challenge here is that we do know that Oliva had a massive strength boost after getting mollywopped by Sukune in, you know, the last series, right? And he came back after recovery a lot stronger, clearer mind, and almost refining his old techniques. And this refined, trained Oliva versus the current Hanayama. And the current Hanayama, he is no slouch, okay? He's obviously gotten stronger since Musashi, and, you know, stronger since he fought Yujiro at the end of the Baki-Do arc, or the beginning of the Baki-Do arc. He's gotten stronger overall. When we already got confirmation that Baki characters get stronger throughout the series, regardless of whether we see them train or not. And we definitely know that Hanayama got a lot faster, because we see that in this fight with Jack. He's actually evading blows a lot more frequently now. Punches and kicks and all sorts of things. He's not just taking the blows. He's actually showing how much of a speedy boy he is. So then this made me ask, okay, Hanayama got a power up, Oliva got a power up. They're both known for their strength, different ways of using their strength. Hanayama uses his grip strength, Oliva uses his glory muscles. So then we think, okay, well, who will win this fight? Honestly, guys, I think it'll come down to tenacity. Forget the strength, forget the speed, forget the techniques, right? Let's just say they're all equal there, even though we know they're not. The tenacity is the biggest difference between Oliva and Hanayama. I've never seen Oliva take as much damage as Hanayama did in his fight against Spec. And this fight against Spec was arcs and arcs and arcs ago. him losing half his face, having gunshot wounds in his kneecaps, having a grenade blown up. I mean, the damage was extensive, and he still kept fighting. I believe the most damage we've seen Oliva take was in his fight with Baki. Either his fight with Baki in the last trading blows with that, or it was him getting completely no-death by Sukune, like breaking all his ribs and tossing. But regardless of the fact, he couldn't fight back. He got knocked out by Baki, and he got crippled by Sukune for a short period of time. So we never really seen Oliva take the amount of damage that Hanayama was able to take and still keep fighting. So I think the determining factor for who wins this battle is who can take the most damage. And I think we know without a shadow of the doubt who that is, and that is Hanayama. Now, is Hanayama going to win every single fight? No. I mean, I would say out of 10, I'll say Hanayama wins 6 or 7 out of 10 times, with Oliva getting the 3 wins. But if Oliva is to win, one, he has to take very few damage. Like, he can't take a lot of damage from Hanayama. He can try to inflict a lot of damage, but avoiding damage from Hanayama. If he grabs you, you're done. But then again, Hanayama's grip, I don't know. I mean, I think Sukune has a stronger grip. He can turn cold to diamond, but I don't know if Hanayama can. We haven't seen him do the feat, but since his main power attribute is his grip strength, I would argue he can get damn near close to making cold diamond or do the same thing Sukune did. But I think the narrator said it only Sukune. But regardless of the fact, I do think that Hanayama can tear Oliva's muscles. It won't be easy, but I think he can do it. It probably won't be the first attempt, or maybe the second attempt, or maybe the third attempt. But regardless of the fact of if Hanayama can tear Oliva's muscles apart through his grip strength alone, his tenacity is still a lot higher than Oliva. Oliva cannot take as much damage as Hanayama can and continue to fight. So regardless of how you spin it, Hanayama wins. And I think that's consistent. I don't think that that's a hot take, because tenacity in Baki is an insane thing. And Oliva, I don't think he's a warrior yet. He's still a fighter. He still has that fighter mentality, while Hanayama has a warrior mentality. I mean, we see how Jack is completely biting off chunks of Hanayama. He's not even responding to the pain. Not like Hanayama responds to pain a lot of times, but as we see that Hanayama is ripping off chunks of flesh from Jack, he just can't contain that. He can't compose himself under pain like Hanayama can. And I definitely see Oliva screaming in pain, getting his flesh ripped off, just how Jack would. He doesn't have that trigger and that switch of like a warrior and a fighter. So I do think ultimately Hanayama does win this battle. He does win.